What, DJ? What's wrong this time?
No, not you, Aaron. Aaron Rodgers.
Alright then, I'll just let you be. Thank God it's not my problem to deal with again.
I wouldn't speak so soon.
Aren't you supposed to tackle them and not let them run around you the fence like hell?
What is this? What kind of game is this? What kind of garbage happens every single year? They do this every year. I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
What did I just watch? What the hell? This makes sense. Well, I guess I couldn't see that coming. I guess we should get into the video. With the Super Bowl happening recently, I thought now would be the perfect time to finally sit down and discuss this topic with you all today. Look, I might not be an American, but I do know my sports, and I especially know my sporting games. See, EA, probably the biggest sporting company in the world, has been absolutely dominating the market in all things sports gaming. And when it comes to some of the biggest sports in the world, this grubby little game company has the biggest chokehold over the entire industry. But when it comes to certain games, how have they been affected? So when it comes to America's favorite pastime, aside from shooting up public schools and contemplating which gender they really are,
Welcome to Madden.
Oh, well, DJ, you should have waited your turn. I haven't introduced you yet to our lovely friends here yet. American football is one of the most well-known sports in the entire world, other than probably soccer, the sport that you actually use your foot to kick the ball with. So when it comes to video games of the sport, there truly has only been one game for the past 2 decades, and that is Madden. And unless you've been living under a rock, you've definitely heard of this game. But if you're an avid fan of the series, over the last decade, you've probably noticed the series has slowly fallen off. And when you're starting to get review scores like this, like really just look at these review scores, it's absolutely horrendous. But how can what was claimed to be one of the best sporting game franchises in history just fall off like this? And how can it slip under the radar for people who might not know about this? For example, everyone knows FIFA is shit. It doesn't even exist anymore. You just have EA Sports now. But unless you play Madden, you'll have no idea it's even like this. So today, we'll be asking the question, what the hell happened to Madden? Now, before we get into this, if you haven't already, go and check and see if you're subscribed. It would really help us out if you could click that big red button. Thank you guys. Chapter 1, Humble Beginnings. So in the beginnings, there were a few simple arcade games. The biggest breakthrough of these early games would be Tecmo Bowl. These were not made by EA, and that's why they were so good. But look, in all seriousness, this was the start of American football video games, before it slowly evolved a few years later into John Madden NFL football.
Hello there.
Now, this was the first entry in the famous line that we all know and love today, known as Madden. And this would also be the first breakthrough for a new sporting game company called Electronic Arts. And this game was a success, being able to play with your favorite teams and players that you saw on the TV. And after the success of John Madden NFL football, the next big breakout for NFL games would be Madden 99, the first Madden game that you could play in complete 3D and being able to live out your dreams of managing your favorite teams. Not the Chiefs though, because I'm not gay. Now, this was completely revolutionary. This was the first time that you could completely manage and build your teams from scratch in any way that you would like. And this was great. This added so much depth to the game franchise to bring the players back and encourage new players to buy the next title. And this really established EA as the company to make the best American football games. However, this wouldn't stop those from trying to compete with the rising popularity of Madden. American football has a massive market and attracts a lot of buyers. So when other game companies like 2K saw the opportunity to also make games on the franchise, when Madden stated they were not going to be making games for the Dreamcast, they jumped into the pit as well. And EA and 2K would start the next chapter of Madden's lifetime. Chapter 2, the competition. Now that 2K has entered the market with their inclusion into the series, with NFL 2K for the Dreamcast, and this was the first big competition for EA and the Madden series. Granted, 2K's first game was a massive flop, but this didn't stop them, and this created the big market war between these two companies that would later become juggernauts within the sports gaming scene. With both of these companies making games over the years, one of the biggest games coming out of this would be ESPN 2K5. This game released at $20, what was so much cheaper than anything else on the market, including Madden. This would actually force Madden to release their game at $30. And while both games were good, ESPN 2K5, even at the cheaper cost, was by far the better game. Now, this would change the way American football games would be made forever. And it's not in the way that you might think. Did this force EA to make better games? No, that would be silly. They made a licensing deal with the NFL. Now, what does this mean? Well, EA has the sole rights to NFL games and anything with the NFL titles, completely killing the 2K NFL market and destroying anyone else's chances of making any sort of NFL game. Well, how about an American football game without NFL teams? You silly mindless fool, Americans are too simple for that. They just want to play with their favorite teams and enjoy the feeling of being a part of their favorite pastime. Well, what about college football? Good idea, except EA did the exact same thing for college football as well, making a deal with the NCAA. All of this is a complex way of saying it just resulted in EA monopolizing the American football gaming industry as a whole. But how did this affect the games that we played? Chapter 3, the grace period. So with EA having the sole rights to the NFL games, you'd think this is where the downfall would happen, right? Well, you'd be
wrong. Yeah. Fucking idiot.
In this time from 07 to 12, the Madden games were still living off that amazing hype from the older games. Except for you, Madden 06. You know what you did. Absolutely disgusting. Now, for as stiff and as bad as Madden 06 was, I do have to credit it for one feature. And this was the first game to introduce the Superstar mode. Well, what's the Superstar mode? You might be asking your shallow brain self. Well, it's simple. You create a superstar and play on a team. Yes. It's that simple. However, this does not take back from what this truly did for the community. Finally, you could make yourself on your favorite teams alongside your favorite players and finally live out your dreams of being in the NFL. And by now, you can even make your own team and customize them to your own liking, as long as you're not playing as the Chiefs. And you know why. Do I really need to explain it? Now, in the future titles, this would be perfected with better gameplay, more options, and just really all the other games being better than the game that will not be named again. But this was an age of success for Madden. Relatively the same, but slightly improved gameplay alongside added features like the mentioned Superstar mode, online franchises, being able to use your stick and make players finally feel like athletes who don't just run in straight lines, and the addition of Ultimate Team mode in 2010. The game seemed like it was going good, and it was only going to improve from here, because they had good quality games for years, and EA had finally earned the trust of their player base. So what would happen from here? Would EA continue to be a favourable gaming company that always put their players first and give us what we want? Chapter 4. The downfall of Madden. At the release of a particular game known as Madden 13, something happened. Something that would change the way that we would see Madden games for the foreseeable future. But look, I'm not a professional here, and this is where I'm going to have to introduce you to my friend who rudely interrupted me earlier, DJ. Now, DJ is a professional Madden esports player, and he has been playing this game for basically his entire life. So I wouldn't know anyone better to be able to tell you guys what really happened to this series. This is the guy who knows anything and everything about the series, and I'm very happy that he has volunteered his time to talk with us all today about what has really happened to Madden. So, from the professional scene, please put your hands together for my friend, DJ.
Thank you, Phoenix. Finally, you have decided to let me show up on stage and talk about the stuff I've been telling them anyways. This has been all my information after all, you content leech. So before I go into the other games, I do really have to talk about Madden 13. The game was a mess. From graphics being a massive downgrade on the same console, mind you, the gameplay not feeling nearly as fun, as it just felt like it was more the game's decision if a play worked rather than if I just played good. Madden 13 also did something I will never forgive it for. It merged the superstar and franchise quote-unquote owner mode into one, being known now as what we know as connected franchise. And this was just a fucking disgrace. Like the one kid who had such high expectations of themselves went to Hollywood to act, only to end up homeless. That is connected franchise. Taking what was once this fun, exciting, lovable, and promising mode, only to completely derail it and take everything that made both modes fun out of it. I'm not kidding you. 90% of what you used to be able to do was removed or worsened. Custom teams was removed. Scouting was a complete downgrade. Roster building felt dull. Free agency was a mess. You couldn't even see players' previous season stats prior to the franchise year. I highly recommend watching The Sad Decline of Madden by Soft Drink TV, as he goes even more in depth towards just the franchise mode, and that despite the new changes and additions and the revamped franchise we have now, there is still so much we don't have in franchise now, so please check this out. I would do more so myself, but we still have a lot more we still need to get into. I mentioned gameplay being worse, and we have to talk about that. In prior years, Madden, while sometimes feeling a little choppy, felt more like a simulation-style game, where you could take over and a player's skill was the main determining factor if a play would work or not. Nowadays, originating from Madden 13, however, it's more animation-based and feels more cartoony than a real football experience. Look at this, for example. Meanwhile, before, you could never in a million years experience something as dumb and filled with as much bullshit than that! Okay. I have to do it. I can do this. Ultimate Team. So Ultimate Team is a card collecting mode where you can collect cards of NFL players at various overall differences and try to assemble the best quote-unquote deck or squad of players that you can within the game to then use and face other people's best quote-unquote decks. Now this mode might sound humble at first. You're wrong. This mode has some of the worst microtransaction practices I have ever seen in gaming history. And it wasn't always like this. Say back in Madden 10, this felt more like a fun side mode than anything else. However, nowadays, you would think that this mode is the entire game! I'm not joking. When you first load up Madden, now the first thing they show you is Ultimate Team. The first thing you can click on is this mode! Let me take a minute or two to show you what it's like to load into Madden Ultimate Team. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys what it's like to load into Madden Ultimate Team. More importantly, just Madden in general. So you load up, and the first thing it shows you is the Madden news, which is typically for Ultimate Team. And then the very next thing is Ultimate Team. So here, let's go ahead and click on this Ultimate Team button. Packs! A bunch of welcome packs! And if you open them up, it's going to show you some of the things that are in this promotion, enticing you to spend more. So wow, all these 90s, oh my god. This is so cool. I'm going to have to earn all of these. Luke Kuechly is my favorite out of the bunch. Let me go ahead and take Luke Kuechly. So you open all of these. So here is your play menu. And the first thing you can see on the center bit for a button is the top, which is the LB and RB. And while you can hit LB to just go to my team, most players are just going to RB. And that shows the marketplace, which is going to show all of these packs. Mind you, this entire time it's been showing you this. Press Y to spend 1900 points for a bundle. We're actually going to configure that and show you the real price now. Alright, so you're going to spend that much for that bundle. Okay, so you go to the marketplace, and you're thinking, okay, it can't be that bad. It can't be that heavily enticed. Real money, real money. real money, real money, real money, real money. And I think you get the point. Okay, so what? It's just some packs. You don't have to spend money on them. Whilst this is true, not only is it already heavily pushed and advertised towards you to spend real money on these virtual packs, the grind to keep up with people who do spend money in comparison is ridiculous. Let me ask you a simple question. What would seem easier to do? Spend over 20 hours in the game just grinding to have the guarantee of one card? Or spend $100 to have the chance at possibly over 4, 5, maybe even 6 cards? Seems like an easy choice. Save the time and get even more. Yet you're playing right into EA's hand. It's just incentivized gambling at its finest. Playing on the fact that people will be more willing to gamble for the chance at more than to work hard for the guarantee at less. And what's sad is that while having the chance at the 6 cards you want, you might spend over $100 and still get nothing. And when that happens, you're out $100 in just 45 seconds and you didn't get anything for it. But let's say you get lucky. At the midpoint of the year where we are now, let's say you pull a high tier 97, 98 overall player. The excitement, the thrill of finally getting that pull and not having to grind for it. It's cool. Don't get me wrong, I've had the thrill many times. Yet, what happens to that card in a month's time from now? It becomes useless in comparison to the even newer and better cards. So take this. You spent over $100, finally got that major pull, and the card becomes completely irrelevant once the new game comes out. Hell, you'd be lucky if it isn't practically useless in about a month's time. But yes, that's right. A new game, a new start, and all the time and money you spent on last year's Madden gets to be all respent on the New Year's Madden. And each and every year this cycle continues, and players do the same thing. Look, I have stopped playing Ultimate Team as I no longer find any passion to play it, and it's not worth the money or time necessary to spend on it. And look, I highly recommend that you stop playing this mode too. It's just not worth the time or money, despite what big name YouTubers in the community might say. Here, let me put it in perspective. It's a lot easier to spend money on a game that's practically already paying you to do so, than to spend money on a game and still have to go to work. That's the difference between YouTuber pack openings versus the non-massive Madden YouTuber pack openings. Anyway, I think now is a good time to start talking about the current state of the game. And there are 2 sections we need to look at.
Chapter 5. The casual scene.
The casual scene. A beautiful, magnificent place where all the noobs and 30-plus-year-old men who have 2 kids reside. You casuals. This is where you're going to find your laid-back players, playing the offline modes to build their teams, or playing with their friends to just have a good time. You know, something off of Fortnite for once. From here, the game doesn't seem too bad. Aside from the weird bug or 2, the game seems to be fun, especially the first-year players. The graphics look super high quality, at times, and the gameplay is fun enough to not make you want to immediately load back up Fortnite. Am I talking too much about Fortnite for a Madden video? Maybe, but you casuals are the one who play Fortnite to begin with. So ask yourself if I'm talking too much about it, or if you're playing it too much. And when it comes to Ultimate Team, here are your players who have total no money spent teams, and are typically the head coach role in your squad games. And look, at the end of the day, the people here are looking to just waste a few hours and have a good time. However, this isn't where you're going to experience the worst of it. And yes, while the casual scene will experience shades of this, they will not nearly experience the amount of bull.
Chapter 6. The competitive scene.
Shit! Oh. Well, would you look at that? EA already making me do shit I don't want to do. The competitive scene. The people who either have 2 buckets beside them at all times to catch a sweat, or the people who spend over $30 to learn the best meta plays and playbooks. I hate to be in this scene, as it completely kills any joy out of the game. Once you enter the competitive scene, you can't go back to the casual scene. Once you know the best plays, routes, defenses, concepts, etc., you're going to be doing it subconsciously whether you realize it or not. And that's the difference between the two scenes. In the casual scene, you didn't know what worked. You just called whatever the fuck you felt like and enjoyed your time. Now, instead of your fun, average football experience where you're trying to outskill your opponent, instead, here you try to find out who can have the most amount of EA bailout animations you could possibly get whilst only running one play. I'm not kidding. My most recent esports game was a loss to a guy who ran one formation and recovered every single one of 7 total fumbles in both games. All of this, and I still only lost by 8 in both games. The competitive scene is still filled with some casual skill tier players who simply know one play and have insane amounts of luck each and every time they play. Let's talk about the competitive scene in Ultimate Team. Up, and there goes $100. Yep, just by entering the competitive Ultimate Team scene, you automatically lose $100 by witnessing the amount of money people can waste into one mode just to have the most up-to-date card on their super team. To just yet again spam one fucking play. Have you noticed a pattern yet? The competitive scene is sadly filled with a bunch of one-trick ponies who spam one play for 30 minutes, and I can genuinely not understand how this is fun. See, even in the competitive scene, I don't even do this. Because personally, I cannot stand doing one play over and over and over and over and over and over again for hours of my day. It truly is just super repetitive and flat out just fucking boring. So when you load into Ultimate Team, you now immediately expect to run into someone who thinks they're the next throne and are gonna spam the same thing all game whilst they claim to be the king of the game. And it really just is a bad look on the game. It's hard to even want to play it. Honestly, it's hard to watch. Immediately you load up a video and it's the same thing for 30 minutes. Like watching paint dry for 30 minutes straight. That's how it feels to watch it nowadays. At least to me. And I do stream the game, and whilst I love my community and I'm forever thankful to them, I never have been able to comprehend how they are able to watch my gameplay. And look, when it comes to gaming in real life or not, this is my sport. Nothing else comes close to it. So when this is truly all I have and all I have to look forward to, and to see what a shit job they have done destroying the franchise that I love and have held so dear to me, to see it look like this, a shell of its former self, is fucking depressing. As I could be playing any other game, but yet I subject myself to this shit year and year again and again, just hoping that the EA gods will make something good, or that in my game that the EA gods will let me win, because it's no longer about skill. It's about animations. And until that gets fixed, this game truly has no chance of being saved.
So look, Madden has gone through its ups and downs, especially now. The game looks to be in a terrible state for everybody involved, besides EA, who is just using the game really now to make an extra buck off everyone who has the audacity to buy this game. And it's sad, as this series used to be something that any NFL fan could play, and especially for a lot of us back in the day after school, it would be a way to enjoy ourselves. But now this game is littered with microtransactions, terrible animations that dominate the game, and a bias on graphics instead of improving the actual game itself. So every game is basically the same, with a new name and a modern team update. And when you look at it, as it removed all these modes, these games realistically have less content than the older fucking games. Now look, is there any hope for this series? Well, I'm not sure. And I know this is a bit of a depressing note to end this video off on, but it's EA. They're about as useful as a dildo in the forest. So I wouldn't be holding out for anything soon. And if we want to see change, we have to just stop allowing them to sell us stuff like this and demand actual change. We did it before with movies, so why can't we do it with games? Maybe we should just not get the next game, make the sales drop, and see if this makes them actually put some effort into these games. But look, if you did enjoy this video, we would really appreciate if you dropped a like and subscribe to this channel, as these videos do take a lot of time to make, and you would be really helping us out and help us to grow this channel over the year. Also, a massive thank you to DJ for helping me with this video. He's an amazing guy, and you should go check him out on Twitch, where he will be streaming his competitive games live. His link will be in the description below, and tell him that Blazing has sent you. Also, if you would like to talk to us more, come join the Discord. It's also in the description below. Come and talk some shit with us, you know, because it's a bit of fun. Why not? But without further ado, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see yous all in the next one.
Madden is lame, it's always the same. Copy paste every year, never change. They don't listen to us, just to their bank. While we scream and cry and they laugh all the